G'day gamers and welcome back to Season 3 of Nuclearies. We're starting up a brand new game on the hardest extreme difficulty. So we'll be starting with a medium demand, gradually increasing with variations up to 25%, peaks in the morning and again in the start of the night, then decreases late in the evening. So what that actually means is that the peaks of when the electricity around morning and dinner time would be the highest points, and that will now be increased by 25%. Same as the lows, decreased by that extra 25%. So there'll be a lot more maintainability in what we'll need to do in terms of the plant's operation. So I'm going to see if I can get 20-minute episodes Monday to Friday. Let's get this season ongoing, shall we? Get the normal chemicals. I do obviously always have the random catastrophes and the weather consequences. So let's go ahead and just turn all of these panels on. And then we'll get rid of all the yellow writing on the left. As you're not familiar with the channel, we've done this many times. But this time I'd like to try and figure out what the new patch has been doing in terms of all the recent updates and just, yeah, everything in general that's just been happening in the background of the game. So let's get that nominal and insert the core so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Request to start operations. Alt, right click, P and H. Excellent. We're running on the internal generator, just burning off some fuel. That's why we've got lights and all that good stuff. Request received. See if we can get that one on, and let's get our vacuum pump on top that condenser off just a little bit. That might be nice. As well as the external tank on the water. They both fill up from an unlimited water source, so they can go nuts. 10 o'clock a.m. is when they're expecting us to output power, and only after 11 o'clock will they actually start paying us for the delivered power. That'll be quite interesting. Different synchroscopes for each of the steam turbines, which is going to be interesting when we're installing and swapping over from the installed generator to the new one that we will be paying for, hopefully in like episode 3. Episode 2 tomorrow, we'll be looking around the plant and trying to explain some of the pipe works going on around in the facility, hopefully. Let's see if we can get that boric acid going. All the valves are sweet as. Right, meow. Got the thermostat actually going on with that pressurizer, as we don't want any steam. That's not good. It's a negative coefficient, and I'll probably be running like 50% rod height on the boric control rods themselves. And as soon as this stops dosing, as this pump turns itself to 0, when it gets roughly around the 3 mark, or the 3,000 liters, or 3 ppm, whatever it is, then we'll probably try and stop it there and kind of equalize everything we can at that point. Don't want to bring up any sort of pressure with the primary circuit being on just yet until we actually get to about 130, 140 bars. So we'll just wait for that just for a second. Resistors on. Good. Chemicals, as always. Good, we can turn that vacuum pump off and go ahead and turn that condenser pump off. That will take quite a long time to fill up, as you can see. Like 500,000 liters it can take. As long as we've got room in that, and a little bit of room in that, we'll be good as gravy. The outer core vessel, I want that to be full as. So there's that. Let's get the
reactor core coolant has started to
let's start it at maybe 35 might be okay. Apparently there was something updated in here to what they were somewhat expecting in the future. Hasn't quite updated, as it says it's just there. So I reckon it'll be around about 6,000-ish, as it's not just updated just yet. I'm kind of keen to see that new feature. That's all getting up there. Excellent. So let's start bringing up these control rods and bringing up the temperature and all that. So that's all good. That's in. That's all sweet. Resistors are on. I don't want to start this just yet, but I want to get it ready and waiting for when we do need it. 40, no, I'll just match what the primary circuit's going. And we're just going to wait for that to get to 100 degrees, so it will start boiling that off, and we'll start fighting it by adding that and turning it on. Let's not forget about the final condenser cooling everything off. The big steam towers at the front. Definitely want that heat to go somewhere. And 55 degrees, there it is. Excellent. That little green glow. When the light is green, the trap is clean.
Reached critical mass, and its status has changed to reactive.
Alright, so now we're like peaking that 6% iodine creativity or production as we are generating reactivity and temperature, as well as that 0.3% chance on the xenon creativity, which has all been updated in the background and tweaked in the game's coding, which is really quite nice. Was interesting to see how that all goes. Guessing this is at about 100. Excellent. Let's flick that one on. Excellent. On. Yeah, that's the one, Sharpie. Good job. Good job. That's all going. That's all sweet. Make sure that boric acid is still dosing. We will eventually try and use this filter pump just even a little bit. And then maybe even in the next episode, I can like set it up and then try and clean out the filter exchange itself in the chemical room just down there. So we can increase the exchange capacity back up to 100%. And there's the off internal grid or off electrical grid alarm. I'll do that before our ears bleed, and I'll crank this bypass right up to 75. As between the time they give you right here and the hour after, so between 10 and 11, they don't care how much power you're producing to the city itself. So you're not getting paid regardless. That's the stability period itself. So as we peak that up, and we were using a massive factor like 170-ish, we're down to like half that-ish now. That iodine and the xenon creativity or production has actually dropped down, as you can see from that gauge just there. Nice and easy. Excellent. Really quite high reactivity. We're wanting 306 degrees Celsius, not 360, as it was in old versions. So that's a little bit different, that we're going to have to change that up quite soon. 248. I'll let that go just a little bit more. What's this doing? 240, 233. That can drop down a little bit more. That's fine. Build up the steam. That stopped in the green. I like green. Green is nice. Candellini wants his hand back. Let me know in the comments if you know what movie I'm quoting. See, now, since we've got our bypasses open to 75% and bypassing 3/4 of that, 3/4 of that steam off to our condenser, it's going to raise that temperature up higher than what it normally would be. But that's fine. We're just going to slowly increase the power we are going to start generating, and nothing's going to be derived or burnt off in our resistors before, this one here, our internal consumption for our lights and pumps and all that sorts of stuff actually gets required. So 163 right here is when it will start deriving electricity after, and any positive afterwards that. So let's get this on to maybe 98 and start that cooling down just a little bit. I kind of let that going a little bit too far, but that's fine. Insert those rods just a little bit more. Excellent. Cool. That should raise it down. We're only at 95 out of 98 set. 97 and 98. 10.04. And then with the boric acid increase, that number should then drop down even further. There we go. 165, 9.9. That's right. It's kind of fluctuating a little bit, because obviously it's doing a lot of things with the iodine in the background. We've got 15.6. And that still shows a value of 0, as it doesn't go into minute decimals, I don't think, as of yet. Thing that would really be nice in the game, if the dev actually does watch this, shout out to you, awesome game. A alarm clock that you could somewhat set for the time in game. So obviously around 3 o'clock this afternoon is when I'd expect this iodine to like start going over to its byproduct, xenon, and then at 9 hours after the 10 o'clock time or 9 o'clock time, whenever you started creating this stuff, that xenon should then burn off into the cesium, as not other chemicals are added just yet, and that cesium doesn't exist just yet. So it's just these two, at least for now. 943, 967, it's kind of jumping up and down. Still thinking about it. It's still thinking about it. How's this one going? 1847. Stabilizing out quite a bit. That's good. How are we going over here? 800. So at 10 o'clock in 2 minutes or less than, these numbers will start coming up and this synchroscope will start coming alive. Just wait for it. So what I might do is I might slow it down ever so slightly by adding a bit more, as we've already produced enough to consume our internal consumption meter for the pumps we're using, etc., etc., as we're not burning any fuel as soon as we turn that off very shortly. We just want to get 22,000. This will slow itself down when it gets to 3060 on that turbine itself. So let's just stabilize everything else while we can in the meantime, while that kind of speeds itself up as fast as it'll go, as I really don't want to click. Let's get this one down to 95, as the boric acid should now start. Yeah, just getting into that green value now. Excellent, good timing on that one. And that pump will pretty much turn itself off by just showing a value of 0 when you've put enough in there, and then you can just kind of fight the reactivity, etc., using the solid control rods, nice and easy. So 10.17. No, it was a little bit too early on that. That's fine. Let's bring it back down again. 1589. Ooh, missed it. Let's go to 80. Just slow it down just a little bit more. 1590, 1570. Let's go 79. I don't want to drop it too much. Still waiting for the 3060. Come on over here. The thermostat on that pressurizer is automatically keeping that automatically done and nice and in the green for us. As I remember back in the day on one of the first versions of Nuclearis, you could actually pay AO, your auditor, funny enough, upstairs, that robot, to actually kind of do this automatically for you. Otherwise, you had to do it yourself. Or like coming over here, turning it on, turning it back off again when it actually got to value. And by golly, if you went too far. Here we go. Just about there. Hold the Alt, raise the RPM. As it's going anti-clockwise, it's going too slow as it's under 3060. That's the way it goes. So we need to raise that RPM. As it gets to the top, the lights will go green, the trap will be clean, and we can close it off. As in closing that breaker. Oh, went a little bit too fast, so let's speed it up a little bit too fast. Get it up the top, and then slow it back down. Wait a second, 22,001 out of 22,000, 50, 50, 30, 60. Let's close that breaker and output any power we're creating right now to the grid. But remember, the bypass valves. So let's close all of these off. Well, this one in specific, because we've only got one loop installed. And as that closes, we'll be putting more and more steam through that steam turbine to increase that power nice and juicily. So what are they expecting? Oh, okay, only 5,000, no problemo. That's really rather low. And I'm glad we went at 35 to begin with. What have we got? Okay, let's see if we can start bringing this up, as I'm expecting this to be around 3,200-ish. Yep. 3,400. So now it's gone to 0. We need to make sure we're not over-pressurizing that pump and set it to 0 itself, as we can't put any more into the reactor itself. So now is around about the time we need to come on over here, and I'm going to set this straight up to 60. So I'm going to pull the control rods out of the reactor by 40% and only leave 60% of them in there. So they'll raise up nice and well. As you can maybe hear the clicking in the background, they're coming on up. And that will increase our reactivity, hopefully to what I want it to be, which is to be about 10.0 even at 306 degrees. So we won't go up in temperature, neither down in temperature. We're producing power, cut right into it before I forget, and turn that generator to automatic. Oh, I always nearly forget doing that, and I end up burning through all my diesel or petrol, gasoline, whatever you want to call it. And it ends up being an absolute nightmare. So what do we like on that? We're at 0 on that. We're producing 7,100. Cool bananas. Cool bananas. How are we on this? 1913. That's perfectly fine by me. Yep. That can probably come down a little bit. Let's get this to about 20%, as it doesn't need to be exactly too cold for it, even though it is better and more efficient for this to be as cold as it possibly can, but kind of like to chill it around the 40, maybe 50 degree mark. It's just my personal preference. 289, dropping that, so it's at 60, so let's go to 40. See if we can bring that temperature up and get it above 10 just for a little bit. That'll take a second or two. And I'm quite happy to try and skip up the time by pressing 3 on my keyboard and skipping on through this as fast as possibly can. That'd be good. That'd be good. So we're waiting for about, what is it, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 o'clock in the afternoon is when that will start coming over to this. Or even 3:30-ish. Because it's 6 hours for the iodine to break down into the xenon, but then 9 hours for the xenon to go to the cesium. 10.02. 3:02. So what I might do is I might start coming over here. I'm going to slow the time down because this can be a little bit temperamental. As you can see, I love it how the dev has added a duplicate reactivity gauge right here, as it does over there, as you had to usually do this back in the day of previous updates, but no longer. Loving it. Loving this little addition. So let's turn the boric acid filter pump on to get rid of the boric acid out of the inner core. And we can start raising it up a bit. So let's turn that back off again. It'll start priming down again. But that's perfectly fine. 10.6. What we can do now is come on over here and get this to 50, which is what I wanted it to be. And that should hopefully level out a little bit more. If not, we'll put it to like 55 or 60, which I think may be needed. That filter pump really kicks butt. Only usually need to turn it on to about 5 or 10%. $48, $49, $50. So let's go 55 and set it there. That should be a-okay for now. Let's speed up the time, as time does not go very fast in this game whatsoever. We're right on where we need to be. I like it being in the green. Green is nice. What do we got? Still got 100% on that. I guess I can still show you how it's done, because why not? And we've got a nice, good, efficient factor of 12. I've seen this at about 5-ish, as we're at about 10.22, so I'm not surprised it's a little higher than about 5, 6, or 7 on that efficiency factor on the fuel. 55, 60. Cool. Bananas. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. So we shall definitely leave that as it is. We don't want to take all the water out, but as long as we're keeping pressure, no steam should be able to fill that void, as this will take 120,000 liters. So it's nearly filled to the brim, but it allows us a little bit of wiggle room. It's the outer core. Good. 7,200. Nearly midday. Definitely need to wait until about 3 or 4 o'clock, and then we can see all of that sort of juicy stuff coming on over. $19.04 is what we ended at roughly, and it's still somewhat rising because we are definitely reactive ever so slightly. I don't mind if this goes to maybe 310, 320 degrees. That's perfectly fine by me, as the fuel will last in-game possibly around a fortnight or 2 weeks. 14 or 13 days, as you start at day 0. 10.08, we're at 306, perfect temperature right now. Just about. But hey, let's go just a little bit further. You can even go 65, 65. Just to nip it. Oh, it was even a little bit too much. So we're so sensitive right now. I want 62. There we go, 10.03. That should be perfectly fine. We made our first 7 grand. Love it. And that was a small alarm in the background. You heard marking the stroke of midday itself. And another feature I'd love to see is how this screen shows what you've pressed. Like if I press the scan button, it'll show up, or if there's a flooded core, when you're trying to extract the core itself from the, the fuel itself from the core. It comes up and shows you here. I'd love it to show what you're setting everything at. So at a certain time, say 9:33 is when I set the control rods to 50% or something like that. And then whether it would show you when it actually reached that state of your setting or your manual positioning, that may be a different thing. But a time and what you did would be absolutely fantastic. Just even on a small screen just to the right of this, as there's plenty of room right here. You could even move this like screen from here to there or something. I don't know. Thoughts in the comments would be awesome, but we'll definitely check out that ion capacity when we walk around the facility in the next episode. So make sure you stay sharp till tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Stay sharp till then as always. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya.